What's going on, Alabama fans? Appreciate you joining us here on the Alabama Football Report. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about a couple of things. SEC awards. 2 Alabama players got notable SEC awards this week, so we'll break that down for you guys. I also want to just kind of talk about Kane Wommack and this Swarm defense. Thought they played really well this weekend. But Kane Wommack in his press conference talked about the fact that Alabama actually did leave a couple plays on the table. Really love hearing that from your defensive coordinator. So we'll talk about both of those on today's show. Go ahead and give me a follow on Twitter as well. Going to put all of our content on my Twitter page and, also just kind of get active on there as well. So go ahead and give me a follow on Twitter. That is at ChrisChatSports. All right, so Ryan Williams and Keon Sabb both got SEC awards this week. Ryan Williams was awarded the SEC Freshman of the Week, while Keon Sabb, Alabama's transfer safety from Michigan, was awarded the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. I think both of these are very, notable awards that these guys were able to get. Ryan Williams this week was just absolutely incredible for you. 2 catches, 2 touchdowns, 139 yards, and he only played 19 snaps in this game. I think what's really notable about what Ryan Williams was able to do for you this week, though, was the fact that Ryan Williams right now is probably your wide receiver 3 or 4. You got a lot of guys in that room. You got Jeremy Bernard in there. You got Kobe Prentice, Kendrick Law. And Ryan Williams was the guy that ended up going off in this game. And I think that is very notable because Kalen DeBoer talked about the fact that Ryan Williams, his routes were later in the progression when it comes to, Jalen Milroe dropping back and reading the defense, going from one guy to the next. And especially on that second touchdown pass that Ryan Williams was able to catch, he was Jalen Milroe's third option on that route. You saw he went to the outside, and then he went to the tight end, C.J. Dupree, and then he went outside to the other side of the field to Ryan Williams. And I tell you what, man, if Ryan Williams is wide receiver 3 on this team this year, you might as well just go ahead and look out other teams because, man, this offense and the way they're able to attack the field and the playmakers that they have with Kendrick Law, with Jeremy Bernard, both of those guys only had 1 catch in this game. If you have those guys having, 4 or 5 catches in a game, mix in another 2 catches for Kobe Prentice and then another couple of catches for Ryan Williams, this could end up looking like that 2020 wide receiver core that Alabama had a few years ago, even, a few years before that as well with Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback. Man, it's going to be a really positive outlook for Alabama at that wide receiver position. I cannot wait to see, how they're able to utilize all of those playmakers that they have at that wide receiver spot this season. The next guy, Keon Sabb, was the SEC Defensive Player of the Week. And, he had 2 interceptions, 2 big interceptions in that game against Western Kentucky. And I want to throw this out there. Might have, should have been on our Overreaction Sunday video, but is Keon Sabb an upgrade over Caleb Downs? Now, that might be a little bit of an overreaction, but, you just look at the fact that he is older already, and, he came in and was able to make an instant impact for Alabama. I think the fact that you have Keon Sabb and Malachi Moore back there on the back end of this defense, both guys are able to communicate very well. They're both very, very good leaders on this defense. Both of those guys together is just a very, very dangerous combo for you at that safety position. So let me know in the comments section, a little fun one for you guys today. Pick a safety for me. Would you rather have Caleb Downs, type D, or would you rather have Keon Sabb back there for the Crimson Tide? You can go ahead and type S if you would rather have Keon Sabb. And if you want to, if you don't really know which one to go, because you do like Caleb Downs still, even though he did go to Ohio State, just remember what Malachi Moore said. If they ain't wearing crimson, I think you guys know the rest. Sound off in the comments section right now. Next thing I want to talk about is this Swarm defense of Kane Wommack's. He talked yesterday during his media availability about the fact that Alabama did leave a couple of plays on the table against Western Kentucky. And I love hearing that from your defensive coordinator, that you're able to go out against a team like Western Kentucky, who is known for throwing the ball. They love, stretching the field and, kind of, a form of the air raid. They go out there and they only have 145 yards total in this game, 103 yards passing, and on 40 attempts is just incredible by your secondary being able to lock those guys down. 42 carries in this game for Western Kentucky on the ground, only giving up 27 yards on the ground. That is absolutely incredible for Alabama. What that defensive line was able to do, they're able to force 2 turnovers. And in that first half, man, Western Kentucky had the ball for a lot during that half. Alabama kind of evened out the time of possession in this game in the second half. But that 21-play drive that they had that we'll talk about later in the show, that took up 9 minutes in the second quarter. So the fact that Alabama was able to hold Western Kentucky to this, really shows what Alabama's defense is able to do. But with all these positive, Kane Wommack decided, look, we left a lot on the table. This is what he said yesterday during his media availability. He said, I thought the 2 takeaways early were positive, but I didn't think that we capitalized on the takeaways as a defense. I thought we had opportunities to score on defense multiple times, and we didn't make the most of those opportunities. We also had opportunities in the backfield. Sacks are great, but sack fumbles are way better to get the ball back to our offense right there on the spot. I've got more on this, my opinions, but before we move on, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor today. That is Game Time. Look, guys, Game Time is the only ticketing app I use. Whether it's for sports, comedy, I love going to comedy shows, concerts. My girlfriend also loves going to theater, so we got to mix that in every now and then as well. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. The Game Time Picks curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, anything you guys need a ticket for. Game Time has that for you. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer you get to the start of the event. Game Time has killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest prices guaranteed. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. The Game Time also has ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time and download the Game Time app today. Create an account and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Check out GameTime.co for last-minute tickets. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Back to Kane Wommack in this swarm defense that we were talking about. Look, I love hearing this from your defensive coordinator. The fact that you can go out against a team that, loves throwing the ball. They've got a pretty decent quarterback. TJ Finley took a step forward last year at Texas State and, was able to develop as a quarterback. And they end up benching him in the second quarter because he's going to be their quarterback for the rest of the year. And they didn't want to get him hurt. But I do appreciate the fact that Kane Wommack brought up the fact that we could do a little bit more in terms of, capitalizing on those turnover opportunities. Back in 2023, last season, Alabama forced only 19 turnovers for the entire season. That's not scores on defense. That is just turnovers in general. That was tied for 48th in the country. Well, when was Alabama's really last, defense that you could really say was really super dominant? I think personally it was back to that 2016 defense where it seemed like almost every single game they were scoring a non-offensive touchdown, and most of those coming on defense as well. In 2016, Alabama scored 15 non-offensive touchdowns, and 11 of those were just by the defense. So punt returns, kickoff returns, things like that don't count in terms of the 11. Just in total, though, 15 non-offensive touchdowns. I think what Alabama is going to be able to do this year, in terms of being intentional in forcing turnovers. We'll talk about this a little bit more later on as well. But, I love the fact that Kane Wommack saw what Alabama did on defense and was like, hey, we can absolutely do better than that. So how many defensive touchdowns do you think Alabama will have this season? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. How many defensive touchdowns? Not non-offensive, just the defense alone, pick sixes, things like that. How many will Alabama have this season? So coming back to that 21-play drive in the second quarter that Western Kentucky had, they were 3 for 6 on third downs on that drive alone and 2 for 3 on fourth downs. Now, I do think it is notable that this 21-play drive ended in a turnover on downs, but, in a normal game, that drive is probably going to end in a field goal. And I will say, though, all of Western Kentucky's conversions on third and fourth down throughout the entire game were on this drive. Western Kentucky was 5 for 21 total on third and fourth downs in this game. So, you can look at the fact that this was an extended drive for Western Kentucky, but it was the only drive that they were able to convert on those third and fourth down opportunities. And I think that is a very, positive thing that Alabama can look towards. I do think, there are plenty of opportunities on that drive where Alabama's defense needs to get off the field. But if that is just one drive out of the entire game, I'm fine with that for right now. I also want to talk about the fact that, Deontay Lawson did drop a pick six early in this game. So that is another opportunity that Alabama missed on the defensive side of the ball to score, another touchdown. I also do think that one of Keon Sabb's interceptions, the second one where he brought it back down into, the red zone for Alabama's offense, I think with a little bit better blocking and just a little bit more awareness from those guys who were blocking for Keon Sabb, he definitely could have been able to cut back and, score a touchdown on that play. Not knocking the fact that, he didn't score a touchdown because it was an interception which allowed Alabama, to have the ball in the red zone at the end of the day. But, it's those little nitpicky things that Kane Wommack is talking about. And Q-Rob as well. He did have 1 sack in this game, and he had another play as well where he ends up forcing an incompletion on the play because he did get a hit on T.J. Finley. But it is those opportunities, you get a sack, try to force a fumble as well. That QB hit, instead of, necessarily going for the hit on the quarterback, go for the ball as well. Knock the ball out. It is those things that Kane Wommack keeps talking about, being intentional in forcing turnovers that I think, a few years ago, Alabama was, really, really, really good at. They did it every single game. They're really trying to find a way to, get back to that intentionality at forcing turnovers. So make sure you guys are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report. This morning we hit 19,000 subscribers, and we are just trying to build this community as large as we can. Our next goal, 20K subscribers. So if you haven't already, make sure you guys hit that sub button for me right now.